You.
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 You ought to know.
Welcome to You Ought to Know. This week we will be telling various camp stories from different things we did as a child. So both Julia and I have a extensive history going to summer camp. We not only went to like traditional summer camps, but I know I did an arts and theater camp, and she did. I also thought she said she did an arts and summer camp. I'll let her tell you. But I also did basketball camp and then spent a number of years up at the YMCA. So we have tons of camp stories that we are excited to share with you, and hopefully you can relate if you ever went to summer camp. And this is an exciting video for us because this is one of the things we bonded over the most.
Yeah, I definitely a lot of summer camp experience. Went to a theater camp. My theater camp was put on by, it was a YMCA program. So I went to YMCA day camps at like an actual camp facility. I went to YMCA day camps at the YMCA. I went to sport camps. I went to Girl Scout camp, residential overnight camp. Oh my God. Yeah. Camp. And for this episode, we're not going to get into our times working at camp, because I know both of us have huge, extensive background working at camp and even just being part of like the teen leadership program. But I think it's kind of cool to focus on where we started at camp. So how old were you when you first went to camp? Like any kind of camp, whether it be day camp, like just your first camp experience. How old were you?
So looking back to the camps I don't think I did any camps until I first moved to Georgia when I was 5. And the first one I did was an arts camp. So pardon the cat in the background, is a arts camp. So basically what that included is they would do theater, they would do paper mache stuff. I remember doing just like macaroni pictures of things, but my biggest memory is not wanting to go. Like I literally cried my eyes out the whole time before my mom dropped me off, and I was with some friends, and so that went well. It wasn't like super bad, but then that summer I got put into a tennis camp with some of the neighborhood kids, and I had a lot more fun at tennis camp when I was little. So right around the same age as was arts camp and tennis camp. And looking back as an adult, I don't feel like the art camp, it was a local thing being organized. I don't feel like it was as well thought out by the leadership of like what we would do, because I remember a lot of downtime and sitting. So like that experience with camp wasn't the best, but tennis camp was totally awesome, and got to learn how to hit a ball off of a string when you're that little. How about you? I know you were involved in Girl Scouts, and I don't know, did you do anything else prior to that, like at preschool or kindergarten ages?
So my first camp experience was day camp programs with the YMCA, and I was I think I was in 3rd grade when I started doing that. So I was a little bit older technically when I got to have my first camp experience, and I did a theater camp where we did a production of Wizard of Oz, and what else? I feel like I did like another day camp program as well with them. And then I also got to go to something called Camp Sargent, which was at like an actual summer camp facility in our town. It had like the lake that you go swimming in, and you'd have like color wars and all that crazy stuff. But it was still just a day camp experience. I didn't get to do residential overnight camp until I was 10 years old. And that's when I moved to Massachusetts, and I had joined the Girl Scouts at that time. So once I joined the Girl Scouts and my mom said I had to be double digits of age. Oh my God, I remember when that day came, it was like the biggest thing ever, and I had my duffel bag packed like probably 4 weeks before I was even going to camp, and my first overnight session was only 3 days long. So you like got to the camp, then you stayed overnight, then you had a full long day, then you stayed overnight, and then the next day you went home. So you weren't there for too long, but I was packed way in advance. Yeah, I was really stoked about finally being able to go to overnight camp.
So overnight camp for me didn't start until middle school. My church, I don't know if they were affiliated with some other company, but the camp was called Camp Oakrest, and it was basically for girls in 7th and 8th grade, so 7th going into 8th, 8th going into 9th, and it was just this huge overnight camp. And the fact that it was, since I'm not really going to church now, looking back on it, like, I don't have hard feelings or anything, but like, looking back on it, it was a really good time for me, and it took me outside of myself because I had never done anything like that before, and I had so much fun. And I got to do my first like hike overnight, trail hike, I guess you would call it, and like go sleep under the stars and make your breakfast in the morning and then hike back down. The sad thing was I sprained my ankle my second year coming back down from that hike because they didn't specify to bring like hiking shoes, and I was wearing Pumas, which are soccer shoes, very slick on the bottom, and I slipped and I sprained my ankle. So that really sucked, and I don't think I went home early. I just was on some crutches for the last part of the week, and yeah, and I really liked Oakrest for just how isolated it was, and that is what actually, just like how pretty it was, and that's how I got interested next summer into getting involved with the YMCA, with their leadership and training program, because I would have been 15 that next summer, and that was an interesting summer. I don't know, should we talk about our LIT, CIT days? Because that's like the next step to my camp story anthology.
Well, CIT, LIT kind of has it's a big category, to say the least. I was kind of curious about like camp traditions. Like, I know for us, no matter what camp I went to, we sang songs. We sang a lot of songs. There were songs for everything. There were songs from walking to and from somewhere. There were songs to sing before we ate a meal. There were songs to sing when you were going to bed, when you woke up. There were songs for everything. And I'm kind of curious, like, did you guys have any songs that, like, you cringe to hear or that you absolutely love and miss hearing?
So, thinking a lot about Oakrest. Oakrest was on their song game. Like, they really knew how to sing some songs. And some of them were more religious oriented, and some of them were just more fun camp songs. But one of my favorite ones was like, I can't remember it now, but it was kind of like explaining the rules of being at camp. And I just remember this one part of the song was like, don't hurt the trees, all the pretty trees, and like someone would pretend to be a tree and another person would pretend to be like a saw, and they'd be acting out like, ugh, ha, like, it's just, that was entertaining. We always liked that song. The song I remember cringing at was like the banana song. There's variations to all these camp songs, like, but it's like form the banana, peel the banana, go bananas kind of thing. I always thought that was super cheesy. But yeah, Oakrest was on top of their song game. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm so unprepared, but they always did a good job. Mm-hmm.
It's really funny that you mentioned the banana song as your most cringeworthy song. The banana song was actually like the theme song for an entire summer for us, because whenever we do the banana song, we'd go, you know, bananas are serious business, and bananas have no thumbs, so no thumbs means serious business bananas. And then you do the song completely serious, and then you're like, go bananas, go bananas. So anytime we wanted kids to like be serious, we'd be like, guys, serious business bananas right now. And we could get like a whole group of kids to suddenly pay attention to us. So I actually have a shirt with a thumbless banana on it saying Serious Business Banana Conference 2007 on it. So that was one of my jams. There was another one about a moose that liked to drink a lot of juice. That was a song that I generally did at my camp. So we did something called opening campfire and closing campfire. So the first night of the session, everybody at camp gets together at one big campfire, and the opening campfire session was just like a lot of really loud, fun, fast-paced songs, and it was kind of more get to know the counselors who were going to be at camp, and they all did skits and fun stuff like that. And then the closing campfire was including more of the campers, where each unit would get up together and sing like a slow serenade song together, and it was more slower songs and the sweet serenades and a lot of crying. It was really sad. But for opening campfire, I did one called the Moose Song, I guess is what it was called. Yeah, we even had some songs that would get banned from camp because they were deemed inappropriate. Some years they would come back, some years they would go away. I have quite a few songbooks to say the least. That was some reason I had a library of songs in my head.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned the Moose with the Juice songs. That was actually a favorite at YMCA when I was there, because I did not start going to YMCA camp until I was a LIT at 15. So that was a favorite of mine. I just feel like I'm blanking because I just remember more about the people and less about the songs right now for some reason. I'm trying to think if there are any other traditions. Oh, I'm wearing my tie-dye shirt because at all my camp experiences, even the little kid one we did, we always tie-dyed a shirt, and I have a major love of tie-dye. Like, that was one of my favorite arts and crafts projects, was doing tie-dye and talking to people about it and just making designs and seeing what other people are making. It was always a lot of fun. And yeah, did you have a favorite craft that you ever did? I know a lot of people really like leatherworking as well. Yeah, I'm curious.
I definitely like tie-dye as well. I have a lot of tie-dyed products. Actually, during one of my classes in college, I tried to wear a different tie-dyed shirt for the entire semester, and I think I drove my professor insane. But my favorite arts and crafts activity was actually candle making. We did a lot of candle making in our arts and crafts, whether it be using like water balloons and dipping, or whether it be digging out cool designs in the beach and then pouring the wax in it. I don't know, we made a lot of candles, and that was a popular one for sure. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that you remember the people from camp, and I would definitely say that is another huge part about camp, is the people you're there with and the people who mentor you as well. I mean, I know I remember a great deal of my camp counselors, and most of my pictures that I have are of camp counselors that were my favorite. And yeah, I definitely always tried to figure out like the gossip between the counselors, and the people watching was to be had, to say the least.
Yeah, especially at Oakcrest, I remember we would all try to see what was going on with all of the counselors and who liked who, and we wanted to be in on the drama because, I mean, we were middle school kids. Like, that's what they do. That's what they're drawn to. They are drawn to drama. And yeah, it's sad because, like, I look through pictures now and I'm not connected with those people anymore, and it's just one of those times where you're like, I guess that was just the time of my life that they were supposed to be in, and now we just have these great memories, and hopefully they do too.
Yeah, it's funny, I'm looking, this is a picture at one of my camps, and I probably know maybe one person still in this picture to this day. Don't remember any of these kids. Couldn't name any of them. But I remember definitely trying to figure out what counselors like what counselor. And I went to an all-girls camp as well, including the staff being 99.9% all women. So for some campers, it was definitely not that like the counselors were like, you know, running around being like, I'm gay. But it was definitely eye-opening to some campers once they kind of realized that some of their favorite counselors may be canoodling with other favorite counselors.
I had the opposite perspective on that because Oakcrest was all female, and that's because it was church run, and you know, there could have still been canoodling, you never know. But it was always, like I said, I had a lot of fun at that camp, but it was very like focused on scripture and studying those things while we were there. And it wasn't until that I departed into the YMCA, which was a co-ed camp, that more things like that happened, where like staff members would start to date, either males or females or whoever, and it would just create more drama for everyone to talk about and to get excited over, I guess. I'm pretty sure that was always more entertaining. And then I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought, as usual.
So, what was some of like your favorite activities that you did at camp? Like, I know arts and crafts is something that we both really enjoyed. I know some of my favorite activities were definitely archery. I loved archery. I loved survival skills. We did a lot of like knot tying and how to build shelters and how to build fires. So the survival skills, I think, was something that I really, really liked as well. Swimming was not on my list of favorite things to do. Definitely did not look forward to that time. Boating, debatable. Sometimes I was into it, sometimes I wasn't. What else? Team building was another activity that was by far one of my absolute favorite things to do while at camp. So yeah, I'm curious, what are some of your favorite things that you got to do while at camp?
So I mentioned arts and crafts. Obviously, that's so fitting considering who I am. But my all-time favorite activity, I loved at YMCA. I loved going horseback riding. I loved those horses. They were so sweet. I didn't even mind once I knew what mucking was. I didn't even mind going to do that as a chore because it was seriously the highlight to my day when I'd get to go and horseback ride, because my YMCA camp was not located around any water, so if they would like take buses into the town to do the local rec center for like swimming pool type activities, which was okay. It was a way to get off campsite for a little bit and see the real world again, especially because I would stay up there for multiple weeks at a time. But horseback riding, I still have a love of horses, and like this whole area I live in now, there are so many people that have acres and acres of land that they have horses on, and there's like horseback riding lessons, and I want to get back into that because that seriously had such an impact on me, and I loved being around those horses. Also, funny story about a horse we had. Her name was Cotton, and she would sneeze and fart at the same time, and it was hilarious. We all laughed and laughed pretty hard.
That is pretty funny. I never had horses at any of the camps that I went to, so that's actually a really cool experience. I'm pretty jealous for that one. I remember, so one of my camps was set up where you signed up for a session and it had a theme and that kind of dictated what you did. So I did one that was like water bugs, where you went swimming a lot, and like one that was like arts and crafts, where you did a lot of arts and crafts. And I remember there were ones that were like 10-day long programs, and they were far more expensive. So I unfortunately never got to do it. But I remember there was one called Coast to Coasters, and the theme was a 10-day program where you got to go to the ocean and go surfing, and then you got to go to different amusement parks and ride roller coasters. And I was like, I want to be on that program now. And I never got to, but I did go to camp with some girls who did get into that program, and I was like, you guys are like the coolest people ever.
Wow, that sounds like one of the most intense, like, special camp program things off to the side that you can do. Like, I'm trying to remember, I never did any of them. I know there were, like, extreme ones where they would go whitewater rafting, and, like, they'd go into Park City to do some slide thing there. I never went, so I don't really know. And then there was adventure camp that they just did a lot more hiking and camping out in the wilderness, I think. I really don't remember, because again, I didn't do any of those. I was just regular camper. Yeah. And then there are the horse camps, which I wasn't a part of the horse camps, but I helped out a lot down there. And yeah, the Coast to Coaster sounds amazing. I still want to do something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty jealous. So we've talked a little bit about what camps we went to, some of our programs that we did. Something I kind of want to touch on a little bit that's like a huge part about camp is food. Camp food. I know, I feel like I have some pictures, not very good pictures here. Let's see. So, you can almost see that's inside of our kitchen right there. Looks like it's a super old-timey picture, but it really isn't. And then this is part of the great artwork that I took. This is a picture of the can. So our eating style was family style. So you sat at a table with 8 people, and just the meal was set there, and then you'd each take your serving from the meal. And then at the end of the meal, all of your food got scraped into this great, yummy can in the middle. But yeah, I loved camp food. I also went to Girl Scout camp, so we got a lot of Girl Scout cookies at camp as well. The rumors are true. We live off of Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, camp food. That's an interesting one, because at Oakcrest, it was so big. There were so many people there at once. Every week they had family style, and they brought it out. And from what I recall, I don't have any specific memories about it. So it either wasn't super great or wasn't super horrible. So I don't really know. I remember our cookout meals being good, and that we made like this pancake. Like, you peel out an orange and keep the orange peel, and you put pancake powder into it, not the powder, the pancake mix batter, the batter into it, and then you would heat it up over the fire and you would eat it, and that was actually really, really tasty. So I remember a lot of tasty foods at Oakcrest. When I moved up over to the YMCA, it was a little bit different, because my first year was family style, or wasn't family style, and I think my second year was. and it really just varied on who the chef was, because they ordered in on their food from Cisco, which I didn't like very much. Not all of it was bad, and it was edible, but it just didn't seem like very healthy, fun options. I would have rather done cookouts all the time, because we did that once a week, I think. So I definitely remember having good food at Oakcrest, though.
We did cookouts too. We did those once a week as well. And those were some of my favorite times as a camper, but also really frustrating times as a camper, because if you got people who just didn't know what they were doing, then it would take so long and then you'd be so hungry. Like, I remember once we made lasagna, but we didn't soak the pasta long enough, so it was just crunchy lasagna. Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you have like 18-year-olds who are in charge of you.
Yeah, cookouts could be a real pain sometimes, because it's like everyone's hungry, you can't get the fire started, or it'd been raining or something like that, and like no one can get anything going. And then you'd get your basket of food, and the food would be, there'd be something missing, and the vegetarian kid wouldn't have their vegetarian patty, and all of the stuff that could go wrong did go wrong, and that seemed like a regular basis. But once it was actually cooked and you had all of your things, it was really tasty. I really liked that.
Yeah, I think that kind of nicely rounds up a little bit of our camp experience. Honestly, I think this is the tip of the iceberg for our camp experience. We definitely will have to do another episode on CIT and LIT for both of us, because I think those were very formative years for us, to say the least. And another episode of kind of what it's like to be on the counselor side of things. Because, yes, it's rainbows and sunshines and arts and crafts and archery for a camper, but it's panic and happiness for a counselor, to say the least. Yeah, so definitely keep on following us on Instagram to see what we post for our next topic and what we have going on, and all the good stuff.
We also like to please remind you to like and subscribe, and that we hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope you have a good week. And if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment, and we will abide by them to the best of our abilities. Goodbye!
Bye!